Hi, in this video, we're going to be working in section 6.2. We're going to be using percents. We're going to be solving percent problems. All right. So I'm going to give you an example. We'll just go right into the worksheet that I put together as an example. So problem number 1 asks, what is 55% of 600? Okay. So we kind of want to think about that. If I had said, what is 50% of 600? Some of you might think, 50% is 600. That's like half, so it's 300. And that is correct, right? So we just want to have a way of answering that question, even when the percent is not so intuitive. So what we have here is what we call the percent equation. Part equals whole times percent. And when I write the percent, I wanted to express it either as a decimal or a fraction. Okay, so I look at my problem statement. What is 55% of 600? Usually this word of, it's of the whole. So we're looking for 55% of the whole. So usually if you think about that, find that word, if it's in a problem, the number that comes after it is actually the whole piece that we're trying to find the percentage of. So whole in this case is 600. The percent that I'm interested in is 55%. And now I want to translate that either into a decimal or a fraction. Most of the time, we're just going to transition that to a decimal, 0.55. Moving the decimal place. Sometimes if in the problem statement, it has a fraction piece on that, you might have to go through the fraction there. Well, we'll do some examples. And so then the part is actually the thing that we're looking for. So the part is unknown. Okay, so I'm going to substitute what we know into our percent equation. Let me write that out over here. Part is equal to whole times percent. And we know that part's unknown. I'm going to call it X. So it's question mark, but you know what? Let's just call it X because basically we're going to solve for the unknown piece. And so we have here that X is equal to 600 times 0.55. And now you have a multiplication problem. So let's go ahead, we multiply as if they were whole numbers, and then make sure we include the 2 decimal places plus the 0 decimal places. So 2 total decimal places. Okay, add the 2 decimal places. And I get 330. And that makes sense because it's a little more than what we thought it would be if it was half, right? It's a little more than half. So X is equal to 330. And that's our final answer for number 1. Okay, I'm going to move on, erase the board and go on to number 2. We're going to do 1, 2, and 3 together. And then, and you guys will then get a chance to do some on your own. Just keep it a little clean. 76, number 2. 76 is 20% of what number? Okay. So 70% is 20, 76 is 20% of what number? So it looks like the number that's of is kind of referring to is the unknown. Okay, so then 20% is the percent. So here, I just said that I'm going to go through the numbers we have. And then we think that the whole is what we're looking for. 76 is 20% of some number. And the part is 76. Okay. So let's go ahead and substitute into the percent equation. We're going to make sure we use the decimal or fraction form of the percent part number. Okay, so part is equal to whole times percent. All right, so substituting in 76 is equal to X times 0.20. All right, so I'm going to just rewrite X times 0.20. We usually put the number in front of the variable, so we'll call it 76 is equal to 2.20X. And now we have an equation. Remember, we solved equations a couple of chapters back. We want to divide both sides by 0.20 so that we isolate X. And on the right-hand side, we get X, and on the left-hand side, we have a division problem. So let's go ahead and find a little space here to write this division problem out. So it's here, 0.20 into 76. Okay, so I want to move my decimal point twice to the right. All right, so it's 20. I'll rewrite that just so it's cleaner. Too much going on. I mean, I like moving the decimal place, but then I'm not always sure what my problem is. So I like to rewrite it. You don't have to do that, but it helps me out. Okay, so now we have long division. 20 goes into 7. It doesn't. 20 goes into 76 3 times. 3 times 20 is 60. And we're going to bring down a 0. So 20 goes into 160. 8 times 20 is 160. And then we bring down the last 0. So we have 380. And let's think about that if that makes sense. What is 20% of 380? We hope it's 76. And it would be good to check, right? So that's how we might check these problems. Okay, and here's the check. So we see that, in fact, 20% of 380 is 76. Okay, great. So going back to the worksheet, let's work on number 3. So number 3, I'm going to keep my problem statement and my percent equation, my little table there, my percent equation. Okay, so what percent of 48 is 36? Okay, so we even have our of word here, and that means that we're considering the base 48. That's how much we're going to take. We want to figure out 36 is what percent of 48. So in this case, we have 48 as the whole, and the part that we're interested in is 36. And it's the percent that is unknown. So let's go ahead and plug this into our percent equation. Part is equal to whole times percent. Okay, so my part is 36. my whole is 48, and my percent, we'll call that X. All right, so we have this equation, 36 is equal to 48X. We have to solve for X. We want to isolate X. So 48 and X are attached by multiplication. We're going to divide both sides by 48 to isolate the X. Okay. And we have 36 over 48 is equal to X. Now, I noticed that this is kind of like not in simplest form. I look at 36 and 48, and I realize that there's 12 as a factor of both 36 and 48. So reducing here, 12 goes into 36 3 times, and 12 goes into 48 4 times. So we have 3/4 is equal to X. And now what we need to do is represent that as a percent. So we have 3/4 equal to X, and we want to write this as a percent. So 3 goes into 4, how many times? You might actually know 3/4, right? If I handed you 3/4, how many cents would I have? 75 cents. So 3/4 is 75% of a dollar, okay? And that's helpful, but we also want to be able to do it with the, with the division. So 4 does not go into 33, so we add a decimal, and 4 goes into 30 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. We're going to subtract, bring down another 0. 4 goes into 25 times. So X is 3/4, and that's 70.75, and it's also represented as 75%, moving from decimals to percent. Okay, you can times 100%, or you can move that decimal point over. So what we get here is that 75%. That is 36 is 75% of 48. Okay, so I did the first 3 problems, and then you guys please work on 4, 5, and 6. So I actually have them separated into pages today. So just work on page 2 when you're done. So press pause, work on 4, 5, 6, and then press play when you're done. Hi, so we're going to do 3 problems, and they're going to be similar to the ones that you guys just did in the pause part. But I'm introducing sort of more difficult numbers. So like in this number 7, we want to look for 4 1/5% of 74 inches. So that's going to it's going to be the same process. We're going to set up that equation. We're going to use X as the unknown, but we just have to be careful to make sure we're handling the fraction piece of that decimal correctly. Okay, so compute 4 1/5 of 74 inches. So the whole is 74 inches. What we're looking for here, 4 1/5%, and the part is unknown, okay? So I want to transition this, either I'll go ahead and, because it's in fraction form, let me transition this into a fraction. So okay, so 4 1/5%. So it's 4 1/5 divided by 100, because that's what the percent stands for. You divide by 100. That's what it means. And so now we're going to treat this as a fraction division problem, and we need to express numerator and denominator as an improper fraction. So in the numerator, 5 times 4 is 20 plus 1, 21 over 5. And in the denominator, 100 over 1. All right, so division, by the fraction. Go ahead and do this here. So we have 21 over 5 times the reciprocal 1 over 100. And we get 21 dividing numerator times numerator is 21 and denominator times denominator. 21 over 500. So that's how we express this percent in fraction form. And so I'm going to now set up my percent equation and solve for x. So we have part is equal to whole times percent. And we chose fraction form. And let's see, subbing in here. Part is the unknown, so x is equal to 74, that's my whole, times 21 over 500. Okay. And actually in the problem statement, I didn't mention it, but it does ask to round this to the nearest hundredth. So once we get the multiplication going, we're going to have to go over and do a division problem to express it there because we still have this. So we want to do now fraction in fraction form. So we want to do this fraction multiplication. So we're going to find common factors here, and I see that 74 is even and 500 is even. And so let's just go ahead and take 2 out of 74, so that would be 37. And 2 goes into 500 250 times. So what I have here is 250 times, in the numerator, 37 over 21. Okay, so the numerator is 37 times 21, and I have the long multiplication presented over there on the side of the board, and we get 777. So x is 777 over 250. And now we need to do that division problem. So the problem we need to becomes a lot of arithmetic. Okay, and 250 goes into 777 3 times, because 3 times 250 is 750. And I know if I had $2.50, and another $2.50, that would be $5, and another $2.50 is $7.50. So that's kind of why I got that in my head a little faster than usual. Okay, and we are asked to present this to the nearest hundredth. So in order to do that, we are going to have to add, that's 2 decimal places. Hundredth is 2 decimal places. So we need to carry our arithmetic to 3 decimal places and then round to 2. So bringing down a 0. 250 goes into 271 time. That's in the 10th place. And we subtract here, we get 20. We're going to bring down this 0 here. 250 goes into 200 0 times. And let's go ahead and bring it down again. And now we have 2,000. 250 goes into 2008 times. 8 times 250 is 2,000. And now we need to round this number to the nearest hundredth. So what we showed was, actually, let's go ahead and do it here so you can see a little better. 777 over 250 was 3.108. And now we need to round to the nearest hundredth. So here's my rounding wall. I'm going to peek over the wall. I see an 8. And that means that I round up to 3.11. Okay. That's problem 7. So let's just take a minute and look at what we did. It kind of all comes together here in that there's many skills that we bring together for these problems. We're asked for compute 4 1/5% of 74 inches. And so we know 74 inches is the whole, 4 1/5 is the percent that I'm seeking, and I'm asking to find that part. Part equals whole times percent. And really, all we did was multiply to get X, and then we had to convert it into decimal form because we needed to round it. Okay. All right, so for number 8, we're asked what percent of 36 is 12? So let's go ahead and write down the percent equation and try to figure out which of these numbers is the whole and which of them is the part. So part is equal to whole times percent. What percent of 36 is 12? So we see that is the whole. (36) is the whole. We're asking that part of 12. What percent is that? So the part is 12. And the value that we're solving for is the percent. So let's substitute in, and then we'll do our calculations and at the end, of course, translate to percent form. So part is 12, whole is 36, and percent is the unknown, so we have that variable X for it. We're going to divide both sides by 36. And we get X on the right-hand side, the 36's cancel. And then the numerator, and on this side, 12 over 36. And we can simplify that because 12 goes into 12 one time and 12 goes into 36 3 times. So 1/3 equals X. Now we're asked to give our answer as a percent. So we need to translate 1/3 into a percent. So go from fractions to percent. Okay, and to go from fractions to percent, we want to multiply 1/3 times 1 in the form of 100%. So we have 1/3 times 100%, and we're going to convert that 100 to a fraction as well, so we could do this fraction multiplication. So we get 100 over 3%. And we can re-express the 100 over 3 as a mixed number. And to do that, we want to see how many times 3 goes into 100. You're going to want to work through this long division problem. So 3 goes into 100, 33 1/3 times. So this is 33 1/3%. All right. That's number 8. So again, let's take a moment to just review. So I kind of review, guys. Some students need a little bit more time with these kinds of problems and a little bit more problems. So these get to be, a good thing to spend a little more time on. So reviewing what percent of 36 is 12. 36 is the whole. 12 is the part and X is the unknown. So 12 equals 36X. And we get 1/3 equals X, but then we have to express it as a percent. And to go from fraction to percent, we multiply times 100%. Okay, so let's look at number 9. Number 9 says 6.5% of what number is 70 caps? So we have that word of what number certainly looks like the whole then is what we're looking for. What is that whole what is that number? So that 6.5%, that's my percent, and my part is 70. So how many caps do I have to have if 6.5% of them is equal to 7? Division, and take a pause if you need, but your decimal equivalent is 0.065. 0.065. Okay, so let's go ahead and substitute into the percent equation and solve for the whole value. So what is that value? 6.5% of what number is 70 caps? So part is 70, whole is unknown, and the percent in decimal form is 0.065. All right, we're going to divide both sides by 0.065 to isolate x. Okay, so we have 0.065 divided into 70. So 0.065 comes on the outside and 70 comes on the inside. And the first thing we have to do is move that decimal place until it clears your digits. So 3 jumps here, 1, 2, 3. And then we're gonna 1, 2, 3. 3 jumps there. So the 0.065 into 70 is, in order to do it, we work on 65 into 7 with 4 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? And here's the problem. You can pause the video, see if that came out well for you as well. Hope you had an easier time with it than me. Okay, so as I had warned, that page of 7 through 9 had harder arithmetic in it. And so I give you problems 10, 11, and 12, which will be of similar complexity. And when you're done with 12, when you press pause, work up to 12 and then press play. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this video up here, and I do have 3 word problems, but I'm going to put them on the next video. So I'll see you then.